welcome to the Push Yourself podcast, where we explore stories of resilience, discipline, and the pivotal moments that shape people's lives. Today, I'm honored to speak with Irina Zaviyalova, an Olympic diver, elite coach, and a sports leader who knows firsthand what it means to push yourself past your limits. She competed at the highest level, represented Kazakhstan on the national team for over a decade, and later transitioned into coaching and sports management. She spent years mentoring athletes, directing aquatic programs, and even serving on a governing body, shaping policies that impact global sports. Now, she's taking on new challenges, bringing a business perspective into the world of sports and fitness. So today we'll talk about her journey, the lessons, and how her definition of strength has evolved over time. So Irina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Artem. Thank you for having me here. This is my first time, so I hope everything is go smooth and well.
I look forward to that as well. Hoping we're all learning, and that's okay. The point is to have an authentic conversation. So if something is a little off, that's okay. This is what people are like in real life. Of course, this conversation, Irina, is all about you, your journey, and the why behind it. Some of these questions are meant to set you up, to tell your story, but feel free to flip the script and ask me questions as well. We might not get to every question, but I'm looking forward to seeing where this conversation takes us. Before we dive into your story, let's set the stage. We all have job titles, we all have job descriptions, but I'm more interested in how you see your work. If you had to describe, without using words such as coaching or an athlete, how would you explain what you do?
So, as of today, and looking into my experience and what I do for years, I can tell you, Artem, that basically I'm a person who is trying to lead the younger generation to pursue their goals and I'm trying to help them just to be aware of what's maybe happening in the future and push the boundaries. When they see like a bigger picture, you become a better person. So the young generation, they should understand how to work together, how to stay focused, and this is basically my work. And yes, I'm trying. I'm trying my best.
Thank you for that. I like to pose this question to take out those things that we tend to say when we network, when we meet with people. What is your job title? Again, the point of why we're here right now is to gain that more personal perspective, like your why, not just your job title, what you do, because a lot of that stays hidden behind the scenes. So I think it's important to share this so that some people can learn, especially young athletes, just young people in general. I view sports as a tool that can teach resilience, that can teach persistence, and many other things along the way. And I think on a physical perspective, it can teach strength. It can be mental strength or physical strength, kind of a holistic view of strength in general, both perspectives. I think a lot what it really means to be strong. Some people define strength, of course, as physical ability. Some see it as mental resilience. But looking back, do you think the sacrifices that you made, especially in childhood, were necessary for your success? Or do you think people over-glorify the grind?
Yes, as a child, as a kid, I missed like a lot. Let's say time with the friends, with families, childhood experience, and I missed a lot of my basically birthdays because of training and the competition. But now looking back and see what I sacrificed or not, there is nothing to sacrifice about as an adult. You understand that it helps you, all sacrifices helps you to go through and push yourself and achieve new goals and basically, yes, your goals. And now I make sure that I'm taking the day off on my birthday. But because I sacrificed a lot, and this one thing that it goes with me for my entire life.
Okay, that's very interesting. So this is actually kind of what the opposite. Of course, I'm not an Olympic athlete, that is clear. But my view on life is that ultimately you have to make a choice, and you're not regretting it now. But I share a different perspective. To me, for example, as a father right now, my priority is to raise my son. And I realize I have to sacrifice maybe some of my ambitions. I realize it's important to have your child see you succeed. Your life as a parent cannot be as all about the children. The example that you lead by as a parent and maybe even as a coach is that you strive towards something. So is it safe to say, just kind of to wrap this up, this question, no regrets?
No, no regrets.
I like these kind of answers.
Just God. We live in the different world and everything is changed and everything whatever happened over there, that's happened for the reason.
Okay, that's very interesting. What's a misconception that people have about elite athletes? Something that the general public doesn't understand.
They don't understand, they don't see the backstage. They see like a if they see on the TV that the athletes, they always like in the glory of medals and with the happy faces, but the backstage with the injuries, failures, and when you're mentally like exhausted. And this is actually what about the misconception they see. They see the beautiful pictures, but behind the scenes, the every athlete is sacrificing, as we earlier said about this. The opportunity for the let's say for the medals just sits in your head and you just pursuing your goal and you are sacrificing everything, even your injuries, even your mentally uh, unprepared situation which you have to go through in the middle of the time, and immediately you have to just make an adjustments in terms of to you to perform well and show that picture that everybody is looking for example, on TV when you're happy with the medal and the podium and that stuff. This is like a two side of one medal, let's say.
That's a good analogy. Exactly what people see in front of their TVs or just from the competition, but nobody really sees that grind on the back when you're in the gym alone when there's no spectators. Sounds to me like you're talking about a quality. I don't know if it's motivation, if it's some kind of maybe it's mental resilience, but sounds like you've gained a certain thing, something that intangible. Maybe it's hard to convey to someone who hasn't participated in sports activities, athletic pursuits, would not understand.
What else could be? For me, that was like a normal life.
Competition. You've been through, safe to say, highs and lows. So what did the failure, those instances where maybe you realize you did not perform as you could have, what did that teach you?
The lesson was actually about the failures, that this is not gonna stay with you for entire your life, and this is not who you are, and everything in this life is gonna change, and everybody will remember the best thing you do, not like the worst you ever done. Yes, I had two experiences that I keep in my head still, like years of when I finished my diving career, but these two examples is still sits in my head. But I became a better person. I can live with that. And yeah.
I would love to hear, I think our viewers would love to hear maybe one of these instances. What was that failure? How did you feel at that moment and what did it teach you? I think that would be important. This is the thing, I think, what I think the viewers can take away. People strive, people succeed, but they never feel comfortable in their own skin because they think somebody out there or maybe everybody out there is always doing better. But the purpose of here is to share the stories that you've got to a highest level there is possible. But it did not come without these failures. So if somebody is listening in and saying, hey, somebody that got to the Olympic level, but they still failed at some points in life, they can feel like, hey, failure is natural. I love this phrase. You either win or you learn. And I think I want to hear like, what was that loss? But what did it teach you?
Of course, this is like, as I said, the two stories I remember clearly. One of the first time I experienced that when I finished last on the big international competition. And this is the first and last time on my entire diving career. And the other moment that I had my Olympic experience when I missed one dive, which kept me from making to the final, and probably it's cost me a gold medal because in that year I had won all of the major events leading into the Olympic Games, but I couldn't win because I lost only one dive.
Do you remember that mindset, what it felt like when it happened and you realized you can't go back?
Yes, because one dive out of five, so I have to finish the preliminary competition anyways, but I didn't get into the swimming pool and I didn't see the final because that was like very, very hard for me to come into the swimming pool and see the competition. I decided, no, I'm not gonna go. I'm done. And then my friend on that time, she was actually made the final. And I decide why it's like my life and her life is still going on and she made the final. I have to push myself and go into the swimming pool and cheer her. So yes, I went through this and I came into the swimming pool and she actually got into the final and I don't remember what place she got, maybe 10th or 7th. So yes, I I wasn't like cheering her from as like a normal person, let's say. So, and these lessons actually taught me that this is not me, this is the situation, and I'm not a bad person. This is just whatever happens, it happens, and life is going on, and I have to move forward.
I think this is an invaluable experience, and something tells me it's probably in your coaching career and working with athletes who undoubtedly experience highs and lows. What do you tell them? How do you prime their mind when they experience failure, when they do not perform to their capabilities? And this is something natural. Everybody fluctuates. Elite athletes probably go to the top more often. But what do you tell to your athletes, young athletes, in those moments when they fail?
Just learn the lesson. So just think what happened before and why you got into that point when you lost, for example. Maybe that wasn't like not your best day, which is good, and let's move on and not like play the game around and don't think about this, but make a like a decision why that happens and don't do the try not to do the same thing next time when you performing. If you're talking about athletes. And if we're talking about younger generation, which I'm leading now, the same thing, just learn the lesson and let's move on. It's nothing permanent. It will go away.
Do you meditate?
I do yoga and meditate.
Well, the reason I ask is that I have an interest in Eastern philosophies, and they teaches you have to think of the present moment. And the mental anguish comes of us thinking about the future, which hasn't happened, that we have no control of. And the same way you can apply looking into the past. It already happened, and you can't change it. So living in the present moment is something that maybe will keep you steady, will keep you kind of grounded, and this way you can still kind of focus on the present moment, on the present day, and continue moving forward. So it seems if we get too much into our heads, if we start overthinking, that can mess with our performance.
Yeah, yeah, that's all.
What techniques have you utilized to stay grounded in that present moment? Let's say you are on the diving board, on the pedestal, and what do you tell yourself? How do you keep yourself, oh, I'm here, what do you do?
I have to do my best, but from the events and uh, if I would dive now, I will think differently, that's for sure. Because not whatever you tell yourself inside your head that you're going to perform well and you're going to do the best, but things can happen. And I said before, I missed one dive, which is doesn't allow me to move on. But to stay mentally, you have to prepare way before when you go up into the 10-meter platform of 3-meter springboards. This is like a preparation a long way, but you have to learn from the others and maybe to ask somebody how who can help you and how you can stay focused and concentrate on the main, let's say, event in everybody's life. We are not talking only about the competition, but talking about me back then, I would change something, but there is no way to change. So I usually told myself, I'm the best person in the world. Let's do whatever I was training for, like for 20 years to perform well. Yes.
That's very interesting, and I think there's nothing wrong with saying you're the best if you realize that you are at that level. That's I love that you're the best in the world. I'm smiling because this is just fun to see from my perspective of somebody who had that at that level. Wow, okay. I've I would think I read. I love basketball, so that's kind of where a lot of my interest is. But I think it's applicable across all sports. I think when you are at that level, that difference between elite athletes, it's just microscopic. That makes all the difference. Shows itself in a competition, but everybody at elite level is kind of pretty much there, and just like that, not even a millimeter, like a millimeter or smaller difference. Would you agree? Being in that environment, you realize this is the cream of the crop. How does that feel?
It's amazing, Artem. I really like it. I enjoyed it because that stadium and all of the people paying attention to only you in this particular moment, I enjoyed a lot. I wasn't ashamed. I was trying to do my best. That not like not always was the case, but yes, I enjoyed it a lot. And when the people give you like some kind of appreciation, when they applause you and cheering you, that's most amazing feeling in the world. When you dove into the water, you come out from the water, and people trying to make you like even happier than you 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 feeling in particular moment. That's amazing. There is not even such a thing to compare about.
That's kind of the culmination of all the work that you have done. It must be amazing. I want to backtrack just a little bit. You mentioned kids, you mentioned concentration, and my son is 12. I got him, into various sports over the last couple of years. He tried a little bit of wrestling. A few years back, pre-COVID, he did jiu-jitsu, tried a little bit of baseball. Now we kind of migrated over to basketball. And I love that experience, but I try not to live through him my love for basketball. Like, I grew up idolizing Michael Jordan. That will tell you how old I am. But what I'm getting at, you mentioned concentration and kids, and I realized, every generation is different. But of course, I now see, being almost 40, I see the generation before us, the few generations, and I realize I think everything is set up against for the younger generations to succeed. All the technology, but social media, all the phones, it's great tools for what we're doing right now. They could be a great distraction. Like, I realized my love was poured into sports because I did not have Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. How do you think this impacts athletes today? Because my view is, I don't think there's as many impassioned young athletes as there were before, because many are distracted with various social media, other things that take up their time. How does this impact your coaching?
It is impacting because, as you mentioned, the cell phone and social media and all of those gadgets, they are not like designed to keep your focus on whatever you doing. People, not children, everybody is scrolling down and watching like a short videos, and they are not concentrating on whatever they're doing right now. So in the sports, you have to concentrate, you have to do, and you have to be like stay committed for whatever you're doing. And my students, basically, the swimming is a tough sport. Any sport is tough, but when you swim you do like laps, it's not fun, and people cannot concentrate because they have to switch their attention to something else. They're not looking for like pursuing gold medals and to become Olympic champion or like national champion. They want to switch swimming, let's say diving, to basketball. They want to change all sports around, and basically they know how to play sports, but they're not the people who'd like to become elite athletes, for example. I would put that way. And this is very hard to keep them into the, even for swimming. Swimming used to be the most popular sport in the United States, and then basketball. Now we see that the young generation of parents, they're not committing to keep the child on the same sport. I mean, which is good. You'd like to go around, play around, but the time when you spend here and there all over like sports field or music or drawing or something, it's hard to keep the people in the sport. Yes. Even swimming. Last year we like a party for our staff, for our lifeguards. And the lifeguards, they're like young generation, they're high school students or 15, 17 years old kids, and we every year, mm, we doing like a party for staff party. And last year, first time ever in my life, no lifeguards, no swim instructors, they even expressed the interest to come and join the party. to go in the water, slide down of the slides, splash and play around. Yes, maybe this year it's gonna be better. That's why I'm concentrating into my new young generation leadership. We have to tell them and show them life is different. You have to be in the social. You have to socialize with the people, not just with the social media, TikToks and Instagrams.
Exactly. I love the optimism, but I have seen the distraction and like, yeah, I hate to feel like we're talking about young people nowadays. We're like old
Yeah, yeah,
timers,
yeah.
but it's just I think if anything, the years age gives you, age doesn't give you wisdom, but age gives you opportunity to gain wisdom if you use that knowledge, if you internalize it, and you can look back and see, oh, it's not just, not to say just this is not how it used to be for us, this is why, and this is why that's not so good. Because not just, I think that all progress is not positive progress. Like we talk about social media, so it's great advance in technology, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of negative consequences. But if you were to advocate for a sport, how do you entice parents, because I think maybe that would involve recruitment if that's something that you possibly do. How do you entice people to join kind of a sport, and particularly swimming? Because the question, I basically, let me reframe that in a different question. I'm curious to know what is the difference between team sports that I have a background in, but what would you say something that individual sports, which is an individual performance by a diver, how does that differ from team sports? What does that give?
It gives you independence. It gives you mental preparedness that you are the person who is in charge for your life, for your performance. Team sports, good sports, and you can rely on the partner. On the individual sports, you cannot rely on the partner. You just see everybody's around you, like athlete performance as the enemies. You have to compete against them. You have to be a little bit better than them, and everybody on the same mental perspective. We are like not enemies, but enemies in the good way. We have to win in the race. We have to win the final event, for example, if you're talking about the athletes. And yes, and only you, the person who is in charge for the particular moment and the particular time. And you can rely on anybody else. You are responsible.
Sounds like in team sports, your feedback is your competition, but here in diving and individual sports, your feedback is your singular performance and how it stacks up against your other fellow competitors. So that's kind of a
Yes.
different mental approach. When you're standing there, to me, what I'm painting a picture as you talk, if you're standing there on a board about to dive, your competition is yourself.
Yes.
So let's go back to the beginning. What was your first memory of diving? Was there a specific moment when you knew this was something you wanted to pursue seriously?
Oh, my first dive that wasn't clumsy. I'm a water person. I'm in the water since the day one. My mom, she's a diving coach, and as soon as I start to walk, the swimming pool was my must-go place. And the diving, because I love to be in the water. And the diving, when you do flipping, twisting, go upside down, and just run, jump, splash. That was my experience, and I said, I want to do this. Let me try this. Yes, and the water is my world. It's my environment. I like to be in the water. I like to go upside down. I still do handstands when I'm doing my workout in my garage, and I still practicing to go upside down and stick at least for 5 seconds. Okay. Yeah. And the first is clumsy. And I understand this is the road I'd like to pursue. I'd like to challenge myself. I'd like to see how far and what kind of dives and how hard the dives are and how I, as a person, can make it happen. Of course, I wasn't by myself. I have like three coaches. Yeah, help me to go through this and fears and but yeah, diving is my world. My mom is my coach. Yes.
You mentioned your mother. You mentioned a few other coaches, but since your mother as a diving coach, but now you being a coach. What do you think is the right balance between parental involvement and let kids find their own way? For example, literally yesterday, I was at my son's basketball game, and I usually try to keep my mouth shut, not to. Probably, I usually try to keep my mouth shut, not to say something, not just say like, play harder, get rebounds, because I realize the coach, his actual coach, it's his team, has a job to do, so I need to keep my mouth shut. But it's not always successful, I'll be honest. Yes, there's moments when I'll scream like, box out, get a rebound, I'll say, can't help myself. But I really try to minimize that. But I hear oral a number of other parents. I know it's natural. Sometimes you can't hold yourself back. But how do you view, particularly in your sport, in diving, the right balance between parental involvement, again, and letting the kids find their own way?
For me, that wasn't the problem that my mom is my coach. But I had like an experience starting from my childhood when she was my coach, and now when I became suddenly her supervisor. When I was young and she was my coach, I always went, for example, on the 3 meter springboard or whatever 5 meter platform. I was waving her and said, "Mom, I'm ready to dive." She said, "No, I'm not your mom. Your mom at home. Here, I'm your coach." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Galina, I'm ready." So we just separate the roles. She was a coach of the pool deck, and she was I'm still my mom. She is my mama, and whatever else we go outside of the swimming pool. Yes, and when I became a aquatics director in Brooklyn, she started work there as a lifeguard, and suddenly I became her supervisor. And she was asking me a question, just Irina, you know what? This is such and such. And Irina at home. Here, I'm your supervisor, and we still laugh about this. Yes, we just separate the roles.
That's really interesting too. It's very like it seems like you earlier on your mother defined roles and the delineation of boundaries where the coach is and where the parent is, and it seemed to have shifted when you've gotten older, and but still there is that respect. You understand, yes, your family, you love each other, but there's that understanding, okay, we're performing in the workplace, this is our livelihood, so we have to kind of respect each other, even though I'm your mom, but I'm reporting to you now. But I still have to listen. I find that very very refreshing, very refreshing. But what is from your experience? Maybe it's involvement of your mother, or maybe you observing other parents. How do you think a parent should guide a child where they do not show the same passion maybe as their parent is? It seems to me obvious. It seems like you shared your mother's passion, but I would think undoubtedly there were some athletes that maybe were pushed into the sport by their parents, but they did not show the same passion. So what do you do in those cases?
Listen, we have to listen what our children are saying to us. As a swim coach, I had an experience with one boy who actually he was a good swimmer, but whatever he do on the swimming pool, that wasn't like 100% right. I mean, nobody do the 100% right, but he was playing around and he became like boring very quickly, and he's touching other swimmers and he doesn't like it. And I asked him, why? What are you doing here? Do you want to swim? He said, no, I don't want to swim. And I asked him, why are you here then? Because my mom told me to go swim. And I asked him, what you'd like to do? I want to play soccer. And I said, really? Is it your mom knows that you'd like to play soccer, not just go every day and swim like laps? He said, yes, but she told me, go, and I have no choice. So basically, we have to listen sometimes what our kids are asking, what they really want. And maybe it's like you have to give a child to try, and child have to tell, oh, mom, let's go back to swimming. I love the water. I don't like that ball fly into my face. But we have to also trust them and listen them and give them a chance to express themselves, just not be bullied.
That's a good point. That's a good point. What if you had to say something to those kind of parents? Would be there be a message if I were to make a clip, maybe 30 seconds, to parents who push their kids into sports? Is there some message you want to get across?
Yes, listen to your children. They are right. Sometimes they have a fear to talk to their parents, but you have to like do on the daily basis conversation, hold the conversation with the children, ask them what they like, what they don't like. This is like one simple question, and maybe you're gonna get an answer you never even think they're gonna tell you. People and parents, we have to invest in the children. We have to spend the time with them.
Exactly, exactly. And parenting isn't easy. I think, you have to be involved. You have to strike a balance of, you know, doing the right thing, but again, not living your life through your kids, which I see in a number of parents. But number of parents are doing well, but I've been really trying to again to fight it within myself, not to make my son's life all about me. But my belief is I've been very insistent. Me and my wife have been very insistent. He's doing great in school. He's been honor roll. He does a performances, plays after school. But you have to pick a sport. We want you to develop, in all areas of life. So I think I agree with not pushing your kids into sports, but I think it's very important for children to participate in sports. Again, because it teaches, there's that stoic idea of suffering, something that refines us, something that makes us better. Something, if you have a hard moment, whether, maybe it's school for a child or it's in sports, maybe you don't like it, but I think this is preparation for life. Of course, young athletes don't always go into to become athletes. They go to get office jobs. And they might not like everything they do. But I think of it this way. Okay, I had a very hard, experience when I was a young athlete. I had to practice. I had to run 20 laps around the court. And I had to, we have to do other things, lift weights. And I didn't like it, but I did it. And I'm better for it. So I think this kind of attitude, this kind of experience prepares you for life, real life, when you have to maybe do something that you do not passionately agree with. But this is what adult life sometimes is about. It's about doing the things that that you do not like. Hopefully you can find your passion and pursue something that you really love, but that's very rare for a lot of us. So you have to find something maybe that gives you money and hits on a little bit of passion, so something that you like, something that you do not hate. So again, I think we're circling back to the theme of what sports can give us as a tool for preparation of young athletes into the adult. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you're talking about the future life and staying active, any sports is going to be good. Anyone. Because if you pursue in the future physical activity as a lifestyle, it doesn't matter which sport you play. It's going to go with you for entire life. So to stay physically active, it's my lifestyle. This is nothing about the medals or performing. I just cannot live without this. If I'm not doing like workout, this is not the normal life for me. And stay active, lifting the weights and through, pushing yourself through whatever you don't want it to do. It helps not only in the sports or physical activities or any other activities you don't want to do, but you have to do. Sometimes you have to do whatever you don't want to do.
As an adult, I think we realize that. And like, I work out in the mornings. Usually when everybody's still asleep, I automatically now wake up before my alarm, before 5:30 a.m. It's a habit. And I go to the basement, I lift some weights, and mentally, like, that's my meditation. I find, I'm not lifting 300 pounds, but I'm doing something that I can be proud of, and it's the first thing that I do in the morning, and I feel good. Mentally, I tell myself, hey, if this is the hardest thing I do, if that's the hardest thing I do, it's the first thing I do, everything else will be easier from that point forward in the day. So if something happens, not a great thing happens at work, somebody upsets me, it's like, okay, that's okay. Comparatively, when I had that weight in front of me, on top of me, ready to kill me if I were to drop it, but I succeeded, it seems like if you do something hard, whether it's athletic, maybe that's a great example, that sets you up to have a great day, an easy day afterwards, and having that each and every day, like you said, you need to have it. I think you said pretty much every single day. You're setting up yourself for success through that suffering of doing something hard that makes you sweat, but you're better off at the end having done it and then moved on and done something else. What do you think?
I think the same way, and you're gonna feel better. I do my morning routine also. My workouts only during the morning times, and for me, the hardest part to start workouts to just put the sneakers on. As soon as I put my sneakers on, I'm done. I know I'm gonna feel good. The hardest part is just go into the basement, or in my case, in my garage, tie the shoelace, and just start to do whatever I have to do. Run, go outside, or I don't know, take a sandbag and do like squats. As soon as the workout is done, I feel relieved and I think, oh, now I feel better. How good I am that I made it.
That's right. Again, this is the little things you can give you pride. Have you found? I'll use myself as an example. There were times in my life, I guess you can say like I had negative thoughts. You can say maybe a little depressed, and I found when I did engage in athletic activities, whether that was working out or maybe it was playing basketball, something that I could take my mind off, that quieted all the negative self-talk and all the like. That was a place that gave me refuge for all the troubles in the world. Just to engage in that something that I was fully engaged with. I don't know if we're talking about that flow moment. Have you experienced anything that where sports quieted all the negativity of the rest of the world around you?
Yes, this is like a kind of meditation because we used to work out with my husband together. And this is like more about group workouts. And I'm just following him because he set the dumbbells for me and he does the stuff for me, just prepare me to do the workout. And when I do workout for myself, it's completely different. I have to do the dumbbells. I have to concentrate on this and this. And this is like two probably the same workouts, but they go differently mentally. If you work out by yourself, it just for me, it's a kind of meditation. I put the music on, and whatever music I'd like to put it on, it's also matters to me. The aerobic and before
That's
I,
that's a good environment to have.
yeah, aerobic instructors, I need like one type of music. It's I am feeling good. My husband, he needs like a different one, which is like heavier for I don't know, for gym music or something. And this is when you do by yourself. No, I like tits 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 tits, and this is fun for me. And this is the kind of meditation.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I think a lot of people will find that sports can give them that meditation and escape from the world, just to fully engage into something that takes your mind. But you mentioned working out, working with your husband. Do you do any kind of training as well with clients?
Yes, not that often, but yes, we do. We do train with the clients, and in my case, with the children as well. So my background is a physical education uh, teacher. Yes, and he graduated from medical school, but he has what's the certificate? Tell me for personal training. I forgot.
Like a
That's it.
personal trainer?
Yes, not NCAA. What's the certificate for?
There's a NASM, I believe.
Yes.
There's a few.
Yes, that
Maybe that
certificate.
one.
Of this certificate, yes.
So how do you approach training other people? I'm curious about adults specifically.
Adults are different. You have to talk to adults and see if they committed actually to start and do workout because for me it's workout. It's not only one thing that you can just start and the next day you decide because muscle is gonna get sore and you don't want to go outside for a while because it's just not comfortable. And you have to be committed. You have to understand and talk to adult if they'd like to move forward. If you're ready, that's nothing is gonna change overnight. Especially when you do physical activity, it's gonna go like 20 days, months, and then you will see the results.
I'll tell you this. I've gained in my early 20s like 100 pounds. Like in my youth, I played sports, basketball, whatever. And then in college, stopped moving around a lot. Then you get a job and sitting at a desk. And then right before my son was born, I lost a lot of weight, probably like around 100 pounds. And I know I've gained some of it back. And looking back on it, I like to think like, what happened? Like, and I realize I now still have the motivation to work out, but I lack something, and maybe it's the discipline that I wasn't able to keep all of it off. So, what is your approach between motivation and discipline? Like, how do you view motivation and discipline? I've come to think that motivation, people say motivation gets you started. Discipline at what's going to get you the result. And, you mentioned working with adults. You have to talk to them. They have to be fully committed. But what is that bridge? What is that gap that people have between motivation and transitioning into discipline?
You have to create discipline in yourself. So, and again, this is not neutral to us. We are all lazy. And discipline, this is what is going to stay in your mind like for years, for days, and you'd like to pursue and achieve your goal. If you want to achieve your goal, you will bring yourself into the discipline. Like you said, you gain the weight and then you lose the weight. This is what? This is about the discipline. This is the goal you had in your mind and you'd like to achieve it. If you really like to achieve, you're going to bring yourself into the discipline. You will motivate yourself how to bring yourself into discipline. What time your alarm will ring you in the morning. If we're talking about the losing weights or just gaining the muscles, for example, this is what you really like to achieve. If this is like, oh yeah, maybe today I want to lose my weight, tomorrow no, I'm good. Look at the mirror, I'm fine, I'm beautiful as is. But discipline is wherever they're achieving your goal and how you achieve those goals. What's the time frame? And usually people setting like a time frame, it's not real. Lose weights in the 10 days, it's not the thing. You're never gonna lose the weight in the 10 days. It's gonna take like maybe a year to bring you back to the normal weight. And this is a discipline in my mind. This is how I think. It's very easy, but you want to really have to set exact goal in your mind, how you'd like, not how, what you'd like to achieve. And discipline is going to bring you how you're going to go there from point one to point B. I gained the weight here as well. And now I'm bringing myself down like a 15 pounds. And I'm thinking that I need to bring couple pounds more because I feel much better. It's comfortable. This weight I'd like to see in myself. I'd like to see myself in the mirror, and it's make me feel happy.
Exactly. I think you mentioned being lazy, and I think our natural tendency as people, as human beings, is to kind of we want to find the least path of least resistance. And but I think at the end of the day, it's about what do you expect of yourself out of your life. Like I like reading Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, who talks about fulfilling your role as a human being. So, for example, he wrote that at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? And like, what does this mean? Yes, a lot of us, we say we're going to start working out, but when that alarm rings early in the morning, when you have that hour before you get to work, when it rings, what is the choice that you make? Do you hit the snooze button, or you do realize, I have to get up? And maybe the first thing that will get you the ball running, like you said, putting on your shoes. And you said when you put your shoes on, that's it, you're ready to go. And I think us finding our purpose or finding how we can actualize ourselves as human beings, it's one step at a time. It's like having a plan, not losing 10 pounds in 10 days. That's not realistic for goals to keep it off. But life is about micro efforts, little battles. Again, the alarm, putting the shoes, and not hitting the snooze button. And not everyone achieves that. So I think personally, I realize like I want to, but I don't really want to. And I realized what I had before, like I really didn't like what I saw in the mirror. But then I realized I'm going to have this little kid very soon running around. And I realized, oh, I'm going to be in trouble. If I have to, at my nearly 300 pounds in that time, have to run around them, I won't be able to do this. So I realized, oh, something clicked. I'm a parent. I'm gonna have a little baby. I need to take care of it. It's survival. And but now it's like I'm still seeking that motivation that will take it into the next level, next gear, and I hope to find it. But what are your thoughts?
Yes, you will find it because you're looking for the opportunity how to find it, and you will find because you're just thinking all over and all over again about the same stuff and the same goal you'd like to achieve. And you, by the end of the day, my personal belief, you will find the way how to bring yourself from point A to point B because you want it. You just don't. For now, this the question how it's not that clear for you, but you're gonna bring you down to that point because you're seeking the path how to bring myself into that point. I believe that yeah, I believe you're gonna find the way how to do this. My personal beliefs.
I hope, I hope, as they say from your mouth to God's ears. I've come to think that results don't come overnight, and but it's about effort. And I think this is why I love sports, any kind of sport. You get results to constant effort, a lot of effort, consistent effort, day in, day out. But I found sometimes results are not seen. You can think you're not having any results, and you kind of flatline, and there's nothing happening despite your effort. And my view is, I hope that this period when it seems like you're not making any progress, you are making kind of a progress that is just below the surface and it's accumulating. But if you stop too soon, if you become discouraged, that's going to go to waste. So the purpose is to get through that period where there's not seem to be any results that are readily available that you can see. But you have to keep pushing it past that point when that you reach that point when it overflows and you finally begin to see the results. And in retrospect, looking back on it, you realize, oh, I felt like, in my case, it would seem I haven't been able to do this for the last 2 years. But maybe I'm doing something right, and then it's just all of a sudden burst, and it's like, oh, I made a progress. Maybe I dropped like 3 pounds and 4. This is what's in my head. I keep thinking like this is my way to keep consistent, and because I realize if I give up on that, it's gonna be much worse. It's rather to have no results and effort than no effort, and then things are gonna go down really bad.
Yeah, and maybe you just in the like plateau means that you're in the comfortable zone. See, maybe people need to go out of the comfortable zone. So just change a little thing. Just feel uncomfortable, unusual. Oh, I'm gonna able to do this. Oh, I'm not gonna able to do this. Let me try. And this is like maybe the way.
You're right. I very recently, like bench press. Give you an example. I used to do 185, and I would do just 5 sets, 185, and then something clicked a few days ago. Like I feel I can do more, so I ended up doing 10 sets at the same weight that I thought I could only do five, and that told me like, oh my god, wait, something's off here. Like you said, I think I hit a plateau, but in my mind, I thought I couldn't do more. But then I just did twice as much weight, twice as many sets as I thought I could do. And like, oh, I think I've just been taking it easy on me. I've just hit the plateau comfort. I was in a comfort like, oh, but this is why that sports. Oh, I need someone to tell me, hey, you need to push yourself a little harder. You can tack on 5 or 10 extra pounds, just carefully. And I think that's where coaching comes in, having that outside view of somebody that within the bounds of safety can push you a little forward, saying, hey, you can do just a little bit more.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
Yeah, I think I have a realization right now through our conversation. Again, this is exactly the point of this conversation. Yes, it's for me. Hopefully, maybe you're gonna take something out of it as well, and this is my hope. But also for the listeners, if they hear these real conversations of things like, oh, we're human beings, we're working through these troubles, through these issues, through these things. Oh, this is how like I made a realization. Maybe you have, maybe somebody else will too, and that's the point of this whole thing. So you've trained and competed for Kazakhstan on the national team for over a decade. How did that experience compare to coaching and competing in the United States? Did you have to adapt to a different athletic culture?
Our culture back then was like 100% different. The coach will tell you what to do, how to do, and you have your own opinion, but you cannot basically wasn't able to express my opinion because the coaches, we know they are mentors. They know better. They see us from outside. Whatever you think about yourself, how good I am, but the coaches will tell, this is good, but you can do better. And that's why they try to push us to be better, better. If you're talking about sport, even in school or other activities. But here, everybody is just, oh, you do such a great job. You're the best person in entire world. You're doing great. But you understand how I'm great and I've got like the worst scores ever. Why I'm great? The people is better than me. And here's discrepancies for me how to tell, for example, my students, yes, you're good. You're doing better. But this is not what gonna bring you into the, for example, person in the swimming pool who is touching the wall first. This is you have to do. You're doing good, but and here's the balance in this bat because you can push back from athlete, from parent, and yes, that's completely different. And the approach is completely different. And this is you have to make like a balance. Then that people live different lives.
But what kind of opportunity necessitated, or what pushed you kind of to move to the United States to pursue athletics further?
So back then, um, that wasn't like let's say I couldn't see this as like an opportunity for myself because I was in the elite athlete. I had everything what I have. I had everything in terms of the good lifestyle, one's lifestyle. But my parents and my sister and all of my friends, they were already here in the United States. They immigrated way before me. And I said, no, I don't want to immigrate. I feel comfortable there. I'm good. And then one point, my mom told me, listen, you're there, we're here. Why you not to try to apply for the immigration visa? I said, okay, apply. This is going to be give me the opportunity to come and see you without going to embassy and apply for the visa and such and such. So we applied for the immigration visa, and then we went through the long process, and we've been waiting, waiting, and waiting. And then I started to realize if I'm going through this for so long and it takes like a lot of my time and effort, I need to go and see how the people live in a different country. And we decided to come and see how American life is. And we immigrated in 2005. And since then, we never been back into Kazakhstan and Russia. So after 5 years,
Right.
when we became a citizens, we realized, oh my God, this is the country I want to live. And how smart I was to make this first step forward and give myself a try to see the opportunity to take this opportunity and see how the different country living. And now I just enjoy that I made that decision. And this actually gave me the huge opportunity to obtain my master's degree right now, to work close with the different people in the different sport, to understand how our sport back in my country in Kazakhstan or back to Soviet Union, how their approach different from American approach. But by the end of the I don't know competition, we have Kazakhstanian Olympic champions, American, and most of the American swimmers they're Olympic champions, and they do right thing, but differently. And this is
Okay.
for me, it's like a big experience. Let's I put that way.
Kind of you had to take a leap of faith. You have to leave everything behind. Thing you mentioned comfort, maybe status, and being an athlete. Would you say you had to? I don't know. You had your of course credentials and experience behind you, but you still had to reestablish yourself. So has the athletic experience through adversity helped you, kind of to reestablish yourself here in the United States?
When I was a young kid,
Just what I'm referring to maybe is just culture.
yes, culture is completely different, and here is very tough. And again, my sports background, I believe it's helped me to go through and establish myself here because I want to push myself. I want to understand why people do things differently. And for doing things differently, doing things like me as a normal seems like a normal stuff. For different people, it's completely not. And again, this is your question: why people doing this differently? By the end of the day, they all of us like to achieve the same results, and we are achieving from different people, different countries, different cultures. By the end of the day, we'd like to achieve the same, but the way we achieve is a little bit different
A little
because
different. So, what are your professional, personal goals now? I know you're pursuing an MBA. You're taking that next step, but why?
I believe I'm stuck on the same position here for 20 years. And the reason I started pursuing MBA since I never had and still don't have any local diploma, and that was a goal. To have like American diploma, you're gonna be able to find a job, I believe, all over the world. And I believe it's gonna give me opportunity to grow professionally. So I'd like to be not just aquatics director, taking a bigger step forward in my professional career.
I'm curious. Maybe you don't have to list a specific thing, but what is that next step looks like for you after being the aquatics director?
So I'd like to actually be a person who is in charge, like a sports, fitness, and aquatics in a different level, and bring like all of the sports related and fitness related discipline under one umbrella. I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to handle it. And of course, I'd like to actually, me and my husband, we are looking forward to some consultant business. So I think the MBA is a business school will help me to understand how business in America works.
Most certainly. I just want to go back for one question. Now, when you transitioned from being from an athlete to post-athletic career, what was the biggest adjustment?
To live life like a normal person, there is no in practice in the morning, there is no practice in the evening, there is no practices at all. And you have to find yourself, what are you going to do with this? What kind of job I'm going to do? How it's going to adjust my all my energy into the different role. It was difficult when you have 10 practices per week and suddenly you stop doing this. You have to find out what's the way, what I'd like to do. This is the same thing with a college student when they graduate. What do you like to do? You have to make a decision. But I wasn't at that age. I was like much older. And in my case, it was a little bit easier. I believe because I'm a girl and I have my husband as a backup. And I was just relaxed. Okay, let's do one step at a time and we're going to figure that out.
All right, that's exactly that's a good mindset to have. One step at a time, focus on the present moment. So, at the end of the day, when you look back, what do you hope to be remembered for? Not just as an athlete or a coach, but as a person.
I never thought about this. Let me think. th- I believe that's the young generation I'm leading right now. I'd like them to remember in their future lives that I'm the person who helped them to go through some challenges. And this is like, I have even examples of this. Um, the students came to me and they thank, thank me for the impact I made for their adult lives.
That's good. I think that's a natural progression from an athlete,
Yeah,
coach, and you
I
hope
will
to
give
leave
you
a
an
lasting legacy.
I will give you an example. Since I work with the lifeguards and swim instructors, um, they can pursue to become a better person, for example, in the police department or to be in a coast guards. And they are referring to me and ask me, give them a recommendation letter. And those recommendation letter, whatever I provide them, they help them in the future career. And they, yes, they called me and they thanked me and like, so told me that I was the person who made their dream come true. So I think it's important to help young generation. They're not going to be like us. It's different. Definitely, they're going to be different. But to help them to be themselves, I think it's our goal, not only mine. It's not only, I think this is not my goal. This is the goal for adults who'd like the future generation be better than us or not worse than us.
That's exactly. I think that this is kind of a good way to wrap things up. That's exactly what, you coming from athletic background, I coming at it from the perspective of a parent. Like, my goal is that the next generation does a lot better. Like, the way I see it, I know that I've done my job right as a parent. If my son exceeds what I do, like, I tell him, you know, I lift weights, but hopefully you lift weights, you're gonna be stronger than me, and I'm gonna be happy when you do. I want to see your success. Like, I'm proud of what I'm doing, but I'll be even prouder. I know I will do the job right if you can do things better than I can in all the facets. And I think this is, as a coach, you want to give a lot of yourself away. It's not about keeping the knowledge to yourself. You serve your purpose. I think we all have a purpose. If you can give that knowledge away towards the betterment of that next generation of athletes or kids or people in general. And this is how I think what our human purpose is, through actualizing our potential. We actualize it, it's inside of us, and then hopefully we can impart it, give it to somebody else, and continue that lineage like you have with those individuals who ask for those references, which makes it very obvious that you had a great impact. And if they did well themselves, that you've done your job as a coach, as a mentor well, if they're asking for your kind of say in their pursuits and what they're doing.
Yeah, if they ask how to their goal, this is like they come to you, they ask you, and you're willing to share. Why not? Are they going to use it? I don't know. Maybe yes. I hope yes. But at least they ask. They're interesting about this.
I think this circles back to what we talked about in the beginning. I'll get a way to bookend it. We talked about, at the end, you can only do what you can in that moment. You gave that away. You performed that dive. Whatever happens, happens. You gave that knowledge away. What they do with it, it's up to them, but you have the peace of mind in knowing that you've done the best that you were capable of as an athlete and now as a coach and a mentor.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to end it right here.
Thank you, Artem. Thank you for the opportunity.
This still has been a learning experience. I've learned a lot. Of course, if you ever want to be back, if you think of something, stories that you'd want to tell, would love to do this again. I'm sure there's a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I think it certainly will be worth sharing. But for our viewers, listeners, to learn more about you, what's the best method?
So I do have a Instagram account with workout samples and LinkedIn account. Everybody can find the information about me, what I'm doing, who I am.
And I'll drop those links into the description of this episode. So I'll look to include that wherever possible.
Thank you so much, Artem. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks a lot.